Greetings from a galaxy farthest from far away. Dearest listener, you're listening to From a Certain Point of Skew, the only Star Wars podcast to supposedly get almost all of their predictions right. Sometimes. I'm Jason, the Angry Ginger Jedi guy. I'm broadcasting live from inside Wookiee Poo Studios. I've had some, what's that stuff, adrenaline in a can?
Yeah.
I've had a little bit of that today.
Good.
And I'm now doing a beer because I'm Elvis Presley. Matt, you're here. Let's talk Star Wars.
Before we do that,
Yeah.
do you remember the movie Starship Troopers?
Oh, of course.
Okay. Well, that is my house right now. I have, there's these bugs around my house. My house backs up to a green space. And
Does their face look like a vagina?
And it doesn't quite look like that, no. They kind of look, those were there are a couple different types of bugs in that movie.
I never saw anyone compare anything to that, but I remember being in the theater. What was that, 97, 98? And that bug creature opens its maw or whatever, and Doogie Howser walks up to it, and I'm like, that's a vajinga.
I think you see a lot of that, little subtle references. By the way, I took my total side story. I took my dad in for an appointment today to his cardiologist.
You saw his vajinga?
And I did say his vajinga. No, but on the wall, there's a poster that says, "Let's talk about angina." And it was so hard to read that and not think the other thing. Let's talk about vagina. Okay. Shit. Anyway, Starship Troopers. So my house, I've got these. You're familiar with a stink bug, what those things look like?
Yeah, they're huge in Michigan.
Okay. So similar to that, there's these things called box elder bugs, I guess.
Yes.
Is what they're called.
So I thought they were the same things, kind of.
They're almost the same, but the box elder's a little bit smaller and allegedly doesn't quite destroy crops and trees as badly as stink bugs do, and it doesn't stink when you squish them.
Yeah.
But I always thought they were stink bugs. I found some of these on Monday when I was spraying for other shit around my house. I was like, oh my God, there's a fucking million of them. And then I was like, well, they're outside. Who cares? By the next day, not anymore. Ooh. Inside. They've come inside the house. So I spent Monday night. I mean, we killed so many of these fucking bugs. At one point I turned to my kids do you want to live forever? No, I didn't say that. But it was we must have killed.
If you wake up and you smell anything, don't worry. It's just the spray.
Yeah, right.
It's not going to hurt you long term.
I think we individually killed 70 or 80 bugs that night, and then killed another 20 in the morning. It was just terrible. So finally had to get the orchid man out here. But it reminded me of orchid.
Do you have a tent over your house right now?
I should have the whole fucking house bombed. Well, the problem is the guy came out to do it, and he's like, "Here's the thing. I can't kill the bugs outside. I can only prevent them from coming in your house." I'm like, that's all I want. I just don't want them in my house,
Mm-hmm.
But that Monday night, I was I went upstairs and I went to sleep, and I'm sleeping with the covers over my mouth. I don't want to wake up with one of those things in my mouth.
Oh, wow.
And I get up the next day and I find one in the bathroom. I'm like, no, it's pierced my inner sanctum of my bedroom.
Yeah, it was probably on your toothbrush.
As long as it's not while I'm brushing, I'm fine with it. Anyway, we are a Star Wars podcast. Everybody.
We are. We're not a Star Troopers podcast.
No, no. Although one last note on that, my older son was basically push this. We kind of formed a spider alliance because spiders kill these fuckers. So now we're hey, pro spider.
Oh, bring them in.
Spiders. Yeah, because normally we're killing spiders.
Out there in the old Portland region, do you have the big hairy freaking tarantulas?
We don't have anything. We are pretty mild when it comes to bugs. It's not bad here. It's not in the South or on the East Coast where I saw some really nasty shit. But nothing, rarely do you run into something that's just holy fucking shit. It's not like Australia. You know what I mean?
I know, yeah. Where all the prisoners and the big bugs are.
I would struggle there so badly. Anyway, if you'd like to find our show from a certain point of skew.com, we're on Twitter at FACPA pod, and you can email us, nobody did this week, facpapod@gmail.com.
Sons of bitches.
It happens.
7 emails next week.
Ooh.
Now, see, the audience is in trouble. Now it's 7 emails.
You gotta just keeps
or I'm quitting the show.
Yeah? Oh, shit.
Yep.
Don't do
I'm
that.
putting my foot down.
I cannot do this show alone.
Well, you better make sure 7 emails come through.
I'm going to have to get all schizophrenic and do 2 different personalities just to make it work.
Well, you used to do voices. Let's see next week. If I'm not here, you can just do my voice.
Okay, I'll try it.
The whole episode.
Oh, fuck, no way. All right, what's on the show?
On the show, we've got a couple of things going on here. We've got number 1, the question of the week, 80s, 90s sitcom legends in Star Wars. We're going to hit the news. 2 things, Mando Season 3 behind the scenes and Season 4 delays. Heir to the Empire, we have a question there. And then we're going to go into bringing other genre shows and movies to the Star Wars galaxy with our guest, Ty, from the possibly defunct 3 on 2 podcast.
I think it's definitely defunct, or at least on hiatus.
Yes.
So question of the week. I said, with the recent announcement that Julia White, a.k.a. Urkel, will star in Skeleton Crew, what other 80s, 90s sitcom icons would you like to see make a Star Wars film or series appearance? Did you have any before we jump into this?
I was hitting Mike. Who was it? Was it Laybourne or was it Hour was hitting me? It was. I'm sorry. It was Royal Farm Boy. Said his head was spinning. He couldn't think of anything. And I said to him, well, how about Elf? He crash lands at Pelimoto's, right? That'd be a good fit. She likes to get a little bit of hair in her mouth. So maybe Vicky from A Small Wonder is discovered by Jawas.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
That sounds scary.
Alex P. Keaton takes a job working for Deirdre. I said it writes itself. And then he said, oh, wait, hold on. Now Brian Hour jumped in with walk into a cantina and see Ted Danson and Rhea Perlman. Howard Hessman leading an advanced Padawan class. Who the hell is Howard Hessman?
Howard Hessman.
That's got to be a character name. Is that like head of the class or?
Oh, I think you're right. It is.
Howard
You're right.
Hessman.
It's head of the class. Good call.
Wow, I pulled that right out of my ass.
Great job.
Richard Mull as Captain Phasma's dad as a trooper bailiff in the ISB Night Court. See? Just got to get them going sometimes.
I see it. What happens is you'll retweet stuff and then I forget to check that later because it doesn't include the account on it. And I totally missed all those. So I'm glad to share those. Some other ones we got. Slewfoot Fred said, let's get Larry and Balky on a show. Who knows what kind of tomfoolery and shenanigans they'd get into. Don't be ridiculous. Don't be ridiculous, cousin Larry. Yeah, we should have they're from Planet Mepos. That would work. By the
Yes.
way, I thought about this when I saw his response. Which came first, Beverly Hills Cop or Perfect Strangers for Balky?
Beverly Hills Cop.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, because I think that was 84. Perfect Strangers was 85, 86.
Yeah, something like that. Because he was hilarious in
Yes.
Beverly Hills Cop.
What was he, like the gay art dealer, right?
He was like the assistant to his friend Jenny, and her name was Jenny.
Yep.
And yeah, and he was just like, "Don't be stupid. I'd make this drink for you. That's a nice little twist on it." Anyway, then we had from Roe from the Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast, owner of a new T-shirt heading his way.
Oh yeah.
He posted a GIF of Pee Wee Herman on his bike, which then somebody followed up and posted a picture of somebody had made a picture of Pee Wee Herman, but he's on like what's it called?
Speeder bike?
A speeder bike. It looks pretty good. It's actually a pretty nice edit.
Now, did they put like that side saddle that has his bike lock chain in it?
Oh, it didn't have. Oh God, I forgot about that.
Have you ever watched if you pay attention to the bottom of the screen, it's just
coming.
like
Yes,
it's coming through. It's looped. That's how he pulls it for so long. Yep.
Great editing, guys.
Yeah.
Brown Leader from Hyperspace Heroes podcast says Mama Vicki Lawrence as some sort of interrogation specialist or underworld enforcer. Do you remember Mama's Family?
Oh yeah, yeah. Didn't she have her own spinoff? Like, didn't Mama have her own show?
I think I think Mama's Family is the show. I think it was a spinoff of Carol Burnett.
Yes, it was a character created on Carol Burnett.
Yes, right. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so she did have her own show.
God, we are showing our age. Everyone's like, who's Carol Burnett?
So, yeah, who the hell's that?
She's the old lady that gives up Saul in Better Call Saul.
I haven't seen it.
No?
No,
Yeah,
good to know
she's in the last half of the season.
Oh, wow,
season.
okay.
Yep. Yeah, she's like, what is she, 90, 91?
Oh, wow, okay. She's a comedic legend. She's like, she's the if you look at any female comedian especially, but men as well, they always cite her as a huge, huge influence.
Dude, her stuff still holds up.
Yeah.
I could do a whole podcast about her shit. Oh, man.
I just always think about her reenacting the Gone with the Wind scene and making the dress out of the curtains and she left the curtain rod in. Anyway,
the one where it's her and her husband and they got the long table and they hate each other and they keep having the maid and the butler, like he slaps so they go over there, they're stabbing each other by the end and
oh shit, funny stuff.
All right, back to Star Wars.
For those of you younger folk, go check out Carol Burnett's greatest hits. Then Max Rebo Experience, also the owner of a new T-shirt, just shared an image of Paul Reiser from Mad About You. Why not Helen Hunt?
You know, I don't think we have to worry about the younger audience because so far everyone's spitting stuff from the 80s. So they're like, it's our age group.
I did say 80s and 90s. I guess I could have opened it up for bigger than
true.
that, but still, that's a nice reference. Bring Helen Hunt in there. Come on.
Yeah.
Mike Laybourne says Columbo, definitely. Interesting. He's so in sync with another person that we'll hear about later when we talk to Ty.
It's very true.
Interesting. Then Star Wars Station, it's a podcast, said Earl John Hinman from Home Improvement would be a great character to play an alien without any eyes.
I'm guessing that's the neighbor over the fence.
Yes. Did you know what
Wilson.
that guy's name was on the show?
No, his name was Wilson. Earl John Hidman has to be his actor name.
Well, no, I mean, that's the actor's name. Yes, I'm saying the character's name was Wilson W. Wilson Jr. Wilson Jr. was the name. I had to look it up because I never really watched Home Improvement much. I know that character, but I never really watched it that much.
All right.
Oh, that's funny. Brian Auer, John Larroquette as Joris Sabaoth.
Oh. No.
Doesn't really have the right vibe for it, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think, no.
But I appreciate the Larroquette call out. He lives kind of up in my neck of the woods, by the way, John Larroquette.
Does he?
Yeah, I think he lives just over the border in southern Washington.
Have you watched the reboot of Night Court?
I have not, and somebody told me it's great.
I've heard the same thing, and I'm like, I don't know. But Larroquette's in it, so, and he was great. Like Dan Felding, right? He's
like the only person who's left alive. I mean, all those people died.
Well, Bull is still alive, isn't he?
Is Bull alive?
And so was her name Marcia something? She played the bailiff, the woman. And I think at the end of this series, the woman who played, what's her name, Marky Post? She was the female.
Yes.
That was Dan and her always went back. I think she ended up being the mother to who the judge is, who's Harry's daughter.
Yes, I know that.
I think she shows up in the season finale, and I think she might be in the new season, the second season. I know a lot for a show I've never watched.
Who shows up at the end? Not Marky Post.
No?
She's dead.
Marky Post is dead?
Marky Post died like 2 years ago.
Who's the one that...
She was the one who was... You're right, though. She was the one that would always go head-to-head with Dan.
Yeah.
Because she was like... I think she was the public defender and he was the prosecutor. Is that right? Something like that?
Yes.
No, she's dead. Harry's dead.
Yep.
You know, I'm trying to think who else. What was the guy's name? Mac? Was that his name? Like the court...
Oh, yeah, Max,
He's dead. I mean, so many people are dead. It's crazy.
Did you ever see on 30 Rock, they did an episode where they did a reunion?
Oh, no.
And they got a couple of them to come back and do cool. Like a night court thing, yeah.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah. I mean, obviously a huge... I mean, how many times you sit there and do your fucking homework watching Night Court?
Yeah.
Kristen Meyer chimes in. She shares a gif of Pacey from Dawson's Creek.
Oh.
Shocker.
Was he getting his tips frosted? What Pacey are we talking about?
It was more like earlier Pacey, the picture I saw, or the gif I saw.
Now I want to do a whole podcast of Dawson's Creek.
Could do that. Could put that on the schedule. Of course. By the way, have you seen any of that Fatal Attraction reboot that he did?
I started watching. I think I've seen an episode and a half, 2 episodes maybe.
Is it any good or no?
I don't know yet. I'm not getting the vibe of, because none of the crazy shit's happened yet. So far, it's all set up and who's who, and he loves his wife, but he doesn't make Judge. So now you're kind of getting a vibe like maybe he's just gonna like throw caution in the wind and say "fuck my life" because he's drunk, and so I don't know yet. I don't know. It starts off with like he's in prison, and I'm like,
it goes back.
Well, it starts off he's in prison for killing, and he says, yes, I killed her.
Right.
But I guess there's a spin to that. Maybe she really isn't dead. So I don't. So maybe it's worth watching.
And then he's like, fuck my life, and I'm going to fuck Lizzie Kaplan.
Yeah. I mean.
I get it.
Might be worth going to prison for.
That is it.
As long as she doesn't have the bush from Waiting.
Oh, I don't know that.
You've never seen Waiting?
Is that the one where they work in a restaurant?
Yeah, with Ryan Reynolds and
I never
Louis
saw
Guzman and all that. Yeah, there's a part where like, you know how like there's always the joke in when someone sends the food back.
Yeah.
So she pulls like pubes out of her bush. I'm pretty sure that's what if I'm thinking right. And but it's like this giant like Hollywood like merkin looking thing, you know. But she just starts plucking them out. And they set it in the burger or the pancakes, whatever it is.
Yikes! Yeah. Yikes! All right. Well, thank you everybody for sending in your answers to our question of the week. News. So on the Mandalorian front, turns out we will be getting another behind the scenes special, making of special for season 3, June 28th.
I hope Jack Black writes a new song about Lizzo like he does Peaches in Super Mario Brothers.
Oh no. So the first season, it was an 8-parter, right?
I believe it was 8-part. Yeah, 6 or 8 episodes. Yeah.
And then the second one, I thought it was just 1 part. I saw something on it, and they said that was 2 parts. I forgot that it was 2 parts.
Was it?
Book of Boba was 1 part.
Okay.
I'm assuming this is just going to be a 1-parter.
Yeah.
At this point, the first season, of course, they had so much stuff to show off and so many new things. But yeah, so that'll be cool to see that. But also something we found out is that there was a report that the writer's strike is now expected to push back the schedule for season 4.
I just saw that today or yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously we know that Favreau's written the scripts, but and there might be some pre-production happening right now as far as like
Right.
designs and stuff. But there's nothing that can happen until that thing's over. So they're not going to go into production until it's over. And right now, I mean, of course, it's still early days, but there's still no end in sight at this point.
I think it's gonna go. It's gonna go as long as the last one, at least 5 months or so, because they're over the summer right now, right?
Right.
So the networks are gonna play their game with reality shows and whatever. They're gonna try to hold out, and it's just stupid. Just make the fucking deal and get back to making good shows.
I know, because it's going to push everything back. It's going to be really shitty, or you're going to get some fucking terrible scripts that they fudged together, or they fucking used AI to do.
I know
all that kind of stuff. I did see somebody posting a thing about somebody holding up a sign saying replace the studio execs with AI or whatever.
Yeah, nice.
That was kind of funny. So we'll see what happens there, but that's kind of a bummer. On to the second item, Heir to the Empire? ? So I was listening to the to Christian Harloff's show. That's the one, the big thing is the one he does. It's like all kind of pop culture stuff. He's the one who had Katie Sackhoff on when she said people want to sit on my face.
2%. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And he was talking about the new rumor about Dave Filoni's movie being allegedly titled Heir to the Empire. That is the rumor. Makes sense considering that, one, the plot lines, but also the fact that it literally Ahsoka says that in the the trailer for
I mean, there's been allusions to since what, mid season 1 of Mandalorian, or maybe when was it when the internet started putting pieces together? Maybe was it when Luke showed up? I don't know. But then it was Heir to the Empire. Everything started leading to it could be this or whatever. So there's that. There's the internet just on fire because she says Heir to the Empire in that. So, I mean, it is the perfect title. Is it that easy to just be is Filoni shit, they're on to me, I'm going to change the title?
It could be. I mean, I think the first time I remember having a whiff of the Heir to the Empire stuff was when Ahsoka showed up. So that was a few episodes before Luke, season 2.
Yeah.
Especially because she calls out Thrawn. But it makes you wonder, because Christian Harloff was getting into this. What does this mean? What are they going to do? How much are they going to borrow from the Timothy Zahn books?
Mm-hmm.
You would think, does that mean Luke and Mara Jade are going to show up in this, and who's going to play Mara Jade? Are they going to do a deep fake with Luke? Are they going to do, Leia and Han are all over that series, or all over that trilogy. So's Lando.
I don't see that playing out, but I was thinking, and I thought I was going to actually message you and say we should have a conversation about this, but we're having it now. So I do think that the Jedi stuff is very possible, and I'm wondering if the early stuff with Luke in the show was just to build the technology, see if it works, see what the fans thought, because why would Mark Hamill say no?
Right, to doing the voice?
Or playing the character, being involved, whatever, just keeping that story of Luke Skywalker out there. So I see it more likely than not right now.
You think it's going to be the deep fake stuff or whatever, the technology. They're not going to go, hey, Ehrenreich, hey, Glover.
Okay, here's the thing. Disney didn't go ahead and hire the guy who deep faked them better than they did just to not continue doing it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right?
Just for one project?
Right.
I don't know. Yeah, that's a good point. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing was is that Joris Sabath character going to be involved, because he's a big part of that trilogy. And so, the guy we see in Ahsoka that everybody was kind of thinking, oh, is that him?
Right.
He's got a different name. They've given him a name. It's a different name. Of course, that's easy enough to cover up in whatever way. But I don't know. I thought if you're going to go Heir to the Empire, you could just be using the name. But if it's really going to be tied so much into that, he's got to be pulling a bunch of elements out of that trilogy, which means these characters have got to show up.
I think it's like the Marvel, right? Marvel pulls threads and takes story ideas and takes the titles of stuff and kind of makes their own for the movies, but some of the originality is there, right?
Yeah.
Same with Star Wars and what Filoni is doing. It just seems like there's stuff there that they can use.
And there's certainly a great crossover. Right. I mean, he's talking about the crossover event. That's a way to bring everybody together.
And if you're going to put the fucking thing in theaters, it's going to be a movie, and all of a sudden, holy shit, Skywalker, you're getting the Skywalker, everyone was I'm burning Disney down because I didn't get it. So, yeah. Right. I mean, even Hamill, interviews keep popping up lately, where he was just basically, I wasn't happy, but I signed on, so this is what I did. So why would he not, I'm going to give them the Luke Skywalker they want before I die?
Right, it could be. Mm-hmm. And he's still in good health. Use him while you got him.
Well, I mean, have you seen him recently? He's not the pudgy bear that he was 10 years
Oh,
ago.
is he a little more? Is he a little more fit now?
He looks thinner. Yeah.
Does he look better in the Burt Kreischer movie? Is that what you're thinking?
Yep. Yeah. He does.
What's that called?
Well,
The Machine or something?
the Machine. Maybe it's just because he's up against Bert.
Could be.
Bert's exposed.
Right. By comparison.
Yeah.
Also, another note on that show, Christian Harloff's show. He had a couple episodes before that. He had Freddie Prinze Jr. on, and he made a couple interesting comments. He was asked about his involvement in Bad Batch and Rise of Skywalker, and he's like, "I didn't want to do either of them." Because he thinks that any like use of Kanan past his death takes away some of that sacrifice and the the importance of the moves that he made. So he kind of doesn't want that to be the case. But he also says, he went on to say about playing Kanan again. He said, "Quote, I'm too old for that stuff. I grew up watching Star Trek more anyway. They had sex in Star Trek. Nobody's getting laid in Star Wars."
Okay. Do you think it's weird that like Ahsoka's coming out soon and he's kind
of throwing smoke,
like casting shadow, like, oh, I'm not, and then all of a sudden we get a flashback scene because like if they're introducing their son, right, and they're doing like you got to kind of say where it comes from. So why not shoot? Why not shoot? Maybe there's an episode where just kind of like catches you up on this shit because there's gonna be a lot more people I think watching this live action than watched Rebels. And they're gonna be like, what the fuck's going on? Who are these characters they're introducing?
Right.
You know?
Yeah. No, there will be for sure.
There's potential. There's potential to see him again.
Yeah, you're right. He could be a curve that he's throwing just to kind of get people off the scent. I get it, but he also has such a like fuck off attitude about stuff. I could see him literally being like, "I'm not doing this again." He's too busy doing all his wrestling shit.
Homeboy's got a mortgage to pay.
That's a good point.
You don't turn down Disney money.
Yeah, several kids too. Shit, all those kids are probably in college by now. They had kids early.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was it for news, unless you had anything else.
I have no news.
Let's go talk to our old friend Ty from formerly of 2 on 3 Pod. We're going to bring him in and talk about a cool idea that he had for us to go through. So
yeah, he's sitting on the line right now listening. Do you think he's upset that I said the name of his podcast wrong? Do you think he knows?
I don't think he's upset.
He know that I meant to do that?
He's going to ignore it. He's just he doesn't want. He's not very. He doesn't like conflict.
Supposedly things like that get under his skin.
I knew. Did you say supposedly in the intro?
I said it supposedly.
Oh, you did. You said okay. Gotcha.
Go both ways.
There's a foreshadow. All right, let's go to Ty.
All right.
With us today is Ty from the, I can't say it anymore, 2 on 3 podcast. Ty, I first before we get anywhere, I got to ask: is it ever coming back? Have you completely quit? Because it's been months now.
Don't be a quitter.
You have not had your show on.
2 on 3 podcast. That's a name I haven't heard in a long time. A long time. I truthfully, I don't know. We've talked about trying to wildcat it, just like, hey, I'm in the mood.
Yeah.
And that's not really ever come together. Part of it is that I've never rebuilt the digital board because I'm lazy. My life got busier, work got busier. It's funny because it's not intentional, but definitely one of my coworkers found the podcast right around the time we were fading.
Oh.
And I think that might have accelerated my sort of desire to
shut it down.
Maybe.
Yeah, but you don't tend to share anything on that show that people would like. You're not hiding anything.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. It's definitely a little bluer than I probably present myself, on a day-to-day basis in the office, from time to time at least. I'm definitely more inclined to say stuff on the podcast than I would in a casual conversation.
It's a safe space for all of us until certain people find it.
Right.
So I mean, I can't answer your question, Matt. I don't have any intent to start it back up, but I also don't have any intent to never do it again.
Okay. Well, and it's getting into summer. This is the worst time to try to fire a podcast back up. You're going to be way too busy. But we missed the show. I have enjoyed listening to you and Chris for so many years, and I'm sad you're not on there anymore. But at least you get to come on here and participate with us. And one of the things I want to ask you first off is, how's that saber?
Oh, it's great. It's a lot of fun. The end of it is it's a little penisy.
Yeah.
Because of the way the light works.
Yeah.
Like the light reflects in a certain way that creates this little ring around the top.
Oh yeah.
And then it's got this little dome right above
I know that. Yep. I have one just like that. Yep.
That's my first thought, which is great. But no, the sound effects are super cool. The fact that you can pick, which kind of sort of whooshing sound it makes.
Yeah. And it changes colors?
Yeah. Any color you want. Yeah. I settled on sort of a goldish color.
Nice.
I find that spoke to me the most. And then kind of I forget what it's called, but there's a sound profile, sort of like a a Rogue style sound profile. There's some other options too. Like there's one that like kind of plays a background noise music like the whole time.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
it's
fun.
playing
Like
like
you
a
got your
little,
own theme music?
a little bit, yeah.
Okay.
And then there's some classic ones, right? There's obviously like this is Vader's. You can hear it, right? There's Vader's. You get Vader's, Kylo Ren's with the crackling, the Obi-Wan, very obvious Obi-Wan noise. I picked one that wasn't an obvious character choice because I wanted to make it my own.
Sure, of course. Well, congrats again on that. I don't even remember what show did you win the giveaway for that because it was like a year and change ago.
It had to be Boba Fett, right?
I think it must have been.
Wow.
Yeah. It took a while to get it with Saber.
Which one was it? The dark saber?
No, not the dark
No.
saber, just a regular saber.
Okay.
But Darth Flamingus was going to build it, and
It was. That's right. Okay, it was pre Kenobi hilt.
yes, and many months went by where he was having trouble. There was a whole issue there was a supply chain issue.
Right.
All that stuff happened, and so he could never get it sorted. So we just, in the end, like used this company that made it. So, and it sounds like it turned out well. So I'm glad.
Yeah. I'm thinking about getting another one for one of my kids so we can have fights because they do.
Wise choice.
They're built to do clash on contact with each other.
That's good. Yeah. Just got to be careful with those things. We've come a long way from the flip wrist flipper.
We have some of those too.
Those things are pieces of shit.
They really suck. They break all the time.
Oh, all the time. So you had an idea that you wanted to bring to the show, which I thought was a real fun topic. So I'll let you set it up.
Sure. So I think, Andor, being the masterpiece that it was, really showed me that you could have a non-Jedi centric Star Wars story in a way that worked extremely effectively, and to have a genre show, especially a spy show, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of built into the Star Wars universe, just had my brain kind of kicking around like, oh, what else would I like to see? Because I honestly there's too much pressure for me at this point put on the tentpole movies and like the main line and all this stuff, and I'm actually getting more and more interested in the ancillary property, right? And
Okay.
I actually think that's what's weakened Mando lately is its desire to sort of tie back into the main theme plot line. Like the fact that like every Star Wars property is now an explanation for somehow Palpatine returned. I think that's weakening the franchise.
Yeah. I think they feel like they're tying it all together, but I see what you're saying. And that was one of the things that really stood out to me with Andor. Two things. One is I don't always have to see the sabers and the Jedi. It was kind of nice to see how everybody else is affected. Not to mention, it's a great era. I love I don't know why this is something I would like, but I like when the Empire's in control and it's the rebellion fighting against them, because I think that's what's comfortable, because that's what we started with.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, you got the ragtag team trying to do good, right?
Yeah.
Nobody wants a show about Democrats that can't govern.
Right. Right. Exactly.
That's all the New Republic shit.
I know.
It is. Hey, we have power. I don't know. Everybody hates us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We fucked up.
That's essentially what a lot of the there was a couple books that I've been reading, and it's a lot about that. It's a lot about how the New Republic is stretched so far and they're really struggling to govern.
The Aftermath books?
The Aftermath books were one,
Yeah.
and then the Thrawn books, whatever those are called, Heir to the Empire, those get into that stuff where they're just having a hell of a time figuring it out. It was like, well, it was easy when we were just fighting the big bad guy.
Right,
Now
yeah.
we have to fucking actually turn around and govern. It's a little bit tougher.
Well, and it's easier to govern when your modality of government is violence. So the Empire doesn't struggle. They're like, oh, you're annoying, so we're just going to kill you all.
Right.
Right. Whereas like with the Republic, it's like, oh, you're annoying. Please tell us what your problems are and we'll try to solve them.
Right.
That's-
Right. Yeah. So your thought was to bring what other stories we could bring, right?
Yeah, exactly. I want to like, what else works? And of course, not the easy way, but the first kind of inspiration I had for it is like, what other shows can we just whatever genre type shows, whether it's another spy type series or a cop show. Like for instance, in the Mando episode, even though I know everybody hated the episode with Lizzo and Jack, the cop stuff was actually pretty fun, right? The sort of Bo-Katan, Mando running around solving a mystery. That part of the show, that episode was actually, I thought, fairly entertaining. And I wouldn't hate to see more of that kind of thing. Maybe not with those two characters, but I know that's kind of what Rangers of the New Republic is maybe supposed to be. I don't know. The X-Wing pilot aspect of it is not as interesting to me. I'm more interested in like a sort of a PI style cop show if we're going to do something like that.
Right.
Yeah, less affiliations.
But you like the droid morgue. You like them going in there and checking toe tags and being like, "Yep, that's him. That's the one."
The morgue, I didn't really understand. Like, shouldn't it just be like a pile of parts?
Probably
Next to a smelter.
Probably.
Just an Ugnaught in there, just like heave hoeing.
Right.
I did like the sort of the droids being like they're having self-preservation motivation. Like, we want to help you because we understand that they're going to shut us all down if we don't figure this out.
Yeah.
That was the best part of the episode, was the bloopers reel of the droids driving into the wall and shit.
Yes. They all just are going batshit crazy.
Yeah.
The one's trying to empty the trash and the thing's just like shaking the trash.
It was like iRobot, where they're watching the security camera footage of the robots freaking out. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So what I thought we could do, kind of go similar to the style of another podcast I do called Our Liner Notes, where the guest comes on, starts the first. We just go round robin and then Ty finishes, and we'll just go through the ones we have. And then at the end, if there's other ones you want to throw in just for fun, like honorable mentions, we can do that as well. So do you want to start off, Ty, with your first one?
Sure. And I think this first one is maybe the most interesting one I have because that's generally how this works. But I want Quantum Leap, but Star Wars. Okay. Now, there's a lot we can do here, right? And I think the key is with Quantum Leap is that you have to find a lead that is like just impossibly charismatic. So do you think we use an existing in-universe character, or do we have to have somebody altogether fresh? Do you think that it works if you don't have someone for the audience to latch onto? Because the Star Wars audience is tough, right? They want Glup Shido and everything. So
I want a Quantum Leap with Peli Moto in the lead.
You do not. Is this like a NC-17 type deal? She goes around and it's just Quantum Leap, but for sex.
Well, I mean, once you're in the other body, you got a different actor every week, right? Just like where she shows up in the mirror or some shit. But she's definitely always going to have something to say or some crazy idea as to how to deal with the situation. So it would be kind of funny.
The person that sprung to mind when you just said charismatic, I thought, well, that's got to be Cobb Vanth. But I don't know that he could pull. I don't know that he would be the best person for that role because because of his attitude, and he's kind of cocky about everything. But I think it could work. I'd like to see him do that.
Yeah.
My only anti-Cobb Vanth here is I think that is a pretty good idea. But my only anti-Cobb Vanth is that one of the things that came to mind when I was wanting to do these different shows is that what I want to see more of from Star Wars is non-Jedi Force users. I'm really interested in people that have developed just on their own, right? I kind of just figured out that I feel things a little differently than them. I feel like an empath or something, but what actually has happened is that I am in touch with the Force and I can feel so I think that would be really interesting from the Quantum Leap standpoint, the idea that this person could solve the problems, being that they were a Force user and their leap actually brings their Force capabilities with them into the body that they inhabit.
Yeah, more of a Leia style Force user. Yeah,
less Jedi, more just I'm connected to the Force and I use that to solve a week-to-week problem.
Mm-hmm.
It can't be a Deus Ex Machina situation though. It can't just always be. It's got to maybe sometimes of course the Force makes things worse.
Right.
There's got to be a lot of different. But I would definitely watch the Star Wars Quantum Leap show. I don't have a name for it though.
So are they hopping around one world? Are they hopping around the galaxy, and then you could play around with like what's happening on a certain planet that from a different point of view, right? So maybe we end up over on Hoth pre-fucking, they show up and start building their little forts and shit. Like, what's going on? But you got some guy there. So you could play. That'd be kind of interesting to do.
Yeah, I actually thought it would be a really good way to work in as much fan service as you wanted. Because you can, I was thinking the whole galaxy, and you could drop in anytime. Maybe the reason that you could actually retcon a ton of stuff with this. Right? Like, so if you kept having this person pop into critical moments, like maybe the battle on Hoth, for instance, the reason that they lose because there's sabotage on the walkers, or the Death Star, maybe they shut down the early warning systems or something. There's a million things you could retcon with Quantum Leap. I don't really want that. I'd rather see news stories. But if you wanted to get into like how Luke's plan to infiltrate Jabba's palace actually worked out, is because
nice shout out.
Maybe the Quantum Leap guy was like, "Let's go on the boat. Come on."
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, or maybe like they beam into the body of Luke right before Leia's about to kiss him.
Right.
And he's like, whoa.
Yeah. He like read a history book where he knew, nope, this is wrong.
Yeah, this is not good.
Wrong.
No, that's your sister, dude.
So when does this take place? Like what era are you thinking of? Like who's behind it? And is it are they Empire? Are they Republic? Is this like because it's a science project, right? Initially, that's what Quantum Leap was, right? And then he's lost, and they can't get him back home.
I mean, look, I think it'd be great to have somebody like, if we could get Mads Mikkelsen or somebody who's in the science world, maybe who wanted to use an existing character or someone like that. Maybe it could be the well, I guess it can't be Jenner, so because she's dead. But someone in that vein, who's doing some sort of time travel experiment, or some maybe like maybe this is how we retcon the hyperspace jumping thing.
Oh, skipping.
Yeah, the hyperspace skipping thing. It becomes like sort of they're trying to figure out how to do that, and they accidentally do this. But the thing about Quantum Leap is it wasn't time based, right? His jumps weren't time bound.
Right.
So I want to see everything. Like you could give me like one episode of a New Republic show, right? Like just oh my god, where am I? I don't know what's going on. It could jump way into the future, and then like one possible future. So I actually like what I like about the concept is that you're not sort of trapped in like again a weakness of Mandalorian is that they're time bound in this 30-year box, right? And that just means we're stuck here. There's nothing we can do that's different.
What was the other guy's name? Not Sam.
Ziggy?
No, Ziggy was the computer guy or whatever. What was the
Al?
Al. That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
I was just saying there was a timeline that he was in, but everything is kind of jumps around from there.
Yeah, he's in the future.
Right.
And so I think you could have like maybe the scientist assistant or maybe child could do the Al role, do some guidance, things like that.
Yeah.
Now, see, the more we talk about it, the more I'm like, why doesn't this exist?
Yeah.
Well, they love to reboot shit anyway, so let's just combine worlds.
You're telling me that I couldn't walk into Disney and pitch Quantum Leap but Star Wars and get like a developmental contract like right now?
I think you could.
Maybe not right now. Bob's on the warpath over there.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. But you know what would work is while they're shooting these shows, you go in and shoot with their set. So like you pick a character like Andor, when he goes back to when he takes the money out of the shower and he's got the girl sleeping in the bed, you do a whole episode where you become the girl sleeping in the bed. So you're getting like a whole nother view of like how she met Andor, what's going on, or what's her involvement with things. That'd be kind of fun.
I think so.
And he never comes back with those damn treats. Where the fuck happened to him? And the next thing you know, there's some weird, creepy alien couple living there. Yeah, it has a lot of potential for sure. There's a lot you could do. I mean, as far as filming goes, the volume would be paramount for this because you would need it for all the different sets you'd be jumping into. And hopefully then when you do the Quantum Leap Star Wars story, they don't have their terrible moment when, he just drops the R word. You've seen that scene.
It doesn't come to mind, but I can assume,
God. He beams into a person with Down syndrome's body and looks in the mirror and goes, and says it. And it's like, dude, terrible.
I can't say that stood. I'm unfortunately, most likely, I have seen that, and then at the time
blocked it out.
I'm guessing that probably at the time it probably didn't register.
It probably didn't register.
Yeah.
I mean, Republican wasn't a bad word back then.
I'm a Republican. That's funny. You should look up that clip though. It's like there's like a 10-second clip of it online on YouTube, and it's you see it and you're like, oh my god, I can't believe they did this. But like you said, it was a different era. Anything else for Quantum Leap? I wanted to come up with a good name. God, I can't come up with a good name. I got nothing.
Need some sort of. Is there a time travel? Is there words for time travel in Star Wars that we don't know about?
Not that I'm aware of.
Hyperleap.
There you go. Hyperleap.
Yeah.
All right, Jay, what you got?
My first one I've got is The Walking Dead.
Okay.
Now, I went a little too much into this because I decided to take it way too serious, and then I got lost. I felt like Cole by the time I was figuring this all out. I don't know what timeline I'm in anymore, so I'm going to need you guys' help.
Okay.
But I'm trying to like put this into like where it was like it exists in the timeline of shows or a potential, right? So I've got the synopsis of it is basically like it's a planet. And there's this virus that I stumbled upon on Wikipedia called the rat ghoul virus. And it's, I think it's like legend shit, right? So way back, or I think it's in the future, right? No, it's 3,000 some odd years BBY, so before Battle of Yavin. And there's these it's like on the Sith home planet of, what is it, like Crack? What's it called? We'll say we know the name of it.
Okay. Insert here.
But it's like all the dead Sith are there, and there's this person who, because there's some of the Sith can use like the witchcraft stuff, right? Like the Sisters of the Watch, or what were they called? The
Night Sisters.
The Night Sisters?
Yeah, the Night Sisters, right? So like they developed this thing where they can awaken these former Siths, and they're like they're like a plague of zombies, but they're also like much stronger than humans, and they have, I don't know, they don't have their Sith powers, but when they bite like a zombie, they can create more of them, right?
And there's more.
So
They become Sith. They become a Walking Dead Sith.
They become just a Walking Dead type thing. I don't think they're Sith so much.
Okay, gotcha.
But that's where it started. So like my idea is that like something happens on this planet. There's because I want to intertwine it into like canon, right? So while things are happening there, like there's a story in 26 BBY where Anakin and Obi-Wan are sent to this planet, and they kind of get into this little skirmish, this fight where all these things are happening. So the characters that we create, and one of them's like a Jedi that we don't know, right? And him and another like Mandalorian, not even a Mandalorian, but like a bounty hunter, they end up on this planet, and one of the guys that's with the guy that set this whole thing up and awakened them escapes on his ship. So they're chasing them. Now we wake up, so it's like The Walking Dead. The first episode, this is all gonna be flat. Like we'll answer the stuff in flashbacks, right? But the first episode is really just like this guy. What's his name? I named him like Siler Core, right? So he wakes up and he's like in he ends up finding out he's like a medic bay, right? And just like The Walking Dead. So he's got to wake up, survive, find a few things, get his shirt or whatever. And as like the episode progresses, like there's zombies he's trying to survive from. Walks out. So the last of the cliffhanger of the first episode is he walks out of the ship and there's the whole planet's just covered in them. So the whole series is them trying to survive this. Maybe it's a moon. Let's go smaller. But so like we have a whole Survivor thing, but this ties back. So like as the flashbacks happen, of course I had to tie this to somebody. So this guy Siler, he's a former Jedi who lost his faith in the Force right after his Padawan turn. So he's trying to survive, leading, and as he's flashing back, we get one cool episode because so far they're doing it in The Mandalorian. They did Book of Boba Fett where you get Luke Skywalker, you get whatever. But this time we get Obi-Wan and Anakin, and we see this flashback of them fighting where they take off. But then we learn through events that the guy that took the amulet, it's an amulet, right? And they're on the new planet now, wakens everything up. His name is Luthen, but it's not Luthen. Okay. That's his name, but this character is real. His name is Granta Omega in the comic books, and he has kind of jumped around some of these events. So but he's also like he's from a very rich family, and he becomes like a collector of artifacts. So I figured by the time that this character survives the events and doesn't want to be known as the Jedi, because we're approaching Order 66 by the time this series will end, we'll say it's on for a few years. So then he takes over the name. So it's the Luthen that we know, but a younger version of him.
It is the same character, you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Well, he steals the name and the identity.
I gotcha.
Which becomes what we see in Andor.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Do the zombies have powers?
I didn't get that far.
You got pretty far.
Yeah. What do you mean you get that
Jesus
far?
Christ. I don't even want to go.
I have synopsises for episodes.
This is unbelievable.
Carried away.
You know what's funny is he DM'd me yesterday and said like, "How deep are you going with this?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm just like jotting down a couple notes and that's it." And he's like, "Okay."
Yeah. No, I was doing a studio pitch. That's it.
Yeah.
You got
God.
a treatment.
That's impressive.
It's what. Yes, I do. I was telling Cole about this on the way. And he's coming up with fucking ideas of like turning Seinfeld into like a Star Wars show.
Oh, trust me, it was on the list.
Oh my God. He was cracking me up with like instantly he's got these ideas. And I was like, dude, I spent the last 4 hours like going down rabbit holes.
4 hours?
Creating characters or finding, and that was just on this first episode.
Oh my God.
Like at work, I'm fucking like going through this, like trying to put the timelines together or steal something from something or yeah, I got a little crazy to the point where like I had to stop working on it because my head hurt. I was like, this isn't even going. I'm not getting paid for this. What's the point of this?
What percentage of your job is just being there?
A lot of it.
Yeah.
It's a nuclear power plant. That's I mean, we're armed, ready for someone to destroy us, but it never happened.
Homer Simpson with a gun.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
Right on. Yeah, I wasn't sure. Like, I knew what you guys did in general, but I wasn't sure like how deep it went. If it was more like, control room business or like.
Well, actually, Homer would be control room, so he would actually be making a ton of money. Us security guys, we do all right, but like we're just on standby all the time. So if we're not doing patrols or not doing something that needs to be done for the hour or whatever, it's just we're sitting up in a guard tower somewhere with Netflix on, killing time.
Gotcha. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I understand now. How you have time for this.
That's impressive. You know, the thing about zombie movies and shows, I feel they make me way too anxious because it's just relentless. It never feels like you can get away from it. It feels like you're always going to die. Don't give me the crying cricket face. I'm just saying, like, I feel like every zombie show I see, it's just like, nope, they're still coming. Nope, they're still coming. Like I feel like you can never get beyond it. But you know, another zombie, show recently, obviously Last of Us.
Yeah.
That fits right in with the Star Wars thing because it's the whole lone wolf and cub thing. So you can do a lot of different things with zombies. It's an interesting theory. I like the fact that essentially these guys these Sith can make other zombies, but they don't have the Sith power. So they're just kind of like minions, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely something interesting that you can do with if you have Jedi's somewhat central to the an idea of like a Jedi having to try to fight off like 100 zombies is pretty. That's a scene I think I would like to see.
Yes. Yeah.
Like just absolutely shredding people because they never really get to kill anyone, right?
Right. Yeah. Now you can see body parts flying.
Yeah.
And
I want more dismemberment, more lightsaber dismemberment in Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
They do get to kill people sometimes, especially if they go rogue and just decide to kill a lot of people.
You asked what I named it. I called it The Sith and the Dead.
Little Quick and the Dead reference there. Crossover. I
yeah.
like that. God damn, that's a great.
Pretty solid.
All right, well, mine's just pales in comparison. Mine are literally like I throw out two things and go, guys, what do you think? So I had Back to the Future, which is kind of an obvious one, but we got the world between worlds. So anything's possible. We don't need a DeLorean. We can just jump right through little portals. But I was thinking of, and I'm just tying it back to, the kind of the original, is I'm thinking of Luke trying to go back and save Anakin from the dark side. But what I was trying to figure out is he doing it to 10-year-old Anakin, or is he doing it to like Clone Wars, Attack of the Clones Anakin? At what point does he want to kind of jump in there? I think it's got to be the latter, only because then you got to have Padme accidentally fall in love with Luke.
Oh, fuck yes.
Yeah,
but I don't know how that would play out. What do you got, Ty? You got something?
Yeah, I think you have to have teenage Luke has to be there on it's Tatooine, right?
When you mean when they
go
meet?
find Anakin? Yeah,
that's Tatooine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I actually, the reason I have such a hard time with that is because in the prequels, Tatooine doesn't look anything like the Tatooine we're shown in the original original series, right? Like it's racing, and obviously we never see most of the planet, but we actually never see wherever that area is that Sebulba lives. We never see that ever again.
Right.
So it's very confusing to my that's the same planet because you know how Star Wars all the planets are tiny. There's like 3 cities and 100
exactly.
Yes.
We always joke about how like it's like when you try to escape a planet, just go to the other side. Just go to the other side of the planet, leave. Nobody's there.
Yeah, like Mandalore. Why is this just this one place? They keep everyone landed in this one place.
I know.
It's a planet,
It's
right?
a big planet.
Don't think about it too much, but yeah, I think that Luke has to go back to that original. Somehow he has to like get in good with Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
So that he can tag along and keep Padme from going on that trip. If he can either occupy Padme or keep her from going to meet Anakin, I think the obsessive nature of Anakin's personality maybe is something you could avoid. But you got to think that he's probably just going to fixate on somebody else.
Yeah,
so it's not going to work,
no,
right?
I think there has to be the kiss there because then you have the whole thing where like, Jesus, I kissed my mom and my damn sister.
Oh my God, double whammy. Ouch. Who have we ever seen you kiss anybody who's not a family member, Luke?
I know. Like he wakes up, he's like, where's my robe? She's like, it's okay. He's like, Mom?
No.
Yeah, there's definitely a Padme is into Luke thing you have to pull off.
Yeah.
I think
And I think it has to be little Anakin, right? Because then little Anakin will be like jealous. He's like, who's this fucking dude hitting on this lady that I'm gonna make fall in love with me in 10 years when she calls me little. What'd she call him? Oh, little Annie, or what'd she say to him?
She says something that makes him feel like fuck you.
Right.
I'm not little.
She basically put him in the friend zone.
Right. She did.
So maybe the Back to the Future happens then in Attack of the Clones. Maybe it's more interesting if he's already a teenager and has been fixating on her in absentia for like 10 years.
Well, see, that's where I pushed to that part because I was thinking it made more sense for him to be of the same.
Anakin can become the Biff Tannen.
Yeah,
like he's just fucking pissed off.
Well, is he Biff though, or is he still? It's just a different version of his dad. It's because I was thinking maybe Biff is Rush Clovis, if you remember that guy. Remember that guy? Rex Clovis is the dude who he and Padme had a thing, and fucking Anakin used to get all hot under the collar about him.
Yes.
Yeah, so
yes,
jealous
that's what I was
about
thinking
it.
of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can have that moment when the movie wraps up where Padme goes, Luke, such a nice name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she remembers it. Yeah.
And now for some reason my brain is like, how do we make it so that Anakin gets a thing for Senator Chuchi?
There you go.
How old is Chuchi supposed to be, by the way?
Ooh, good question. Because was she? We first met they're Pandorans. Is that what they're called?
Is that the triangle head one that they save in the? What were we watching recently? Is that the senator? Right.
There was one that she was in the lower levels of Coruscant and all that stuff in the Bad Batch. Yes. But
the Bad Batch. Yes.
But she was the part of that Pandoran crew, and I'm trying to remember because I'm screwing this up. But back in the Clone Wars, we met them the first time, the Pandoran people, and her, I believe. But I think she was part of. Wasn't there like a kidnapping thing, and she was kidnapped or something like that? I think that was part of the plot originally.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, we've seen she's been around for a while. Frankly, she's doing a great job surviving because I didn't think she'd make it past Bad Batch, but she did.
Yeah. No, Padme is just using her as a tool. Like, go do this stuff I can't do because my profile's too high.
Ah,
right.
I like that.
You sure her head's not actually a triangle, Jay? She's just got hair.
Maybe I'm picturing.
No, she has a blue face and the hair comes out in points like this.
Oh, almost like pigtails.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She showed up at the very end of the last episode of
second
to last episode of the Bad Batch this last season, right?
She was in a couple episodes of the Bad Batch.
That's the one that Rex shows up and saves her right at the end, right?
That sounds right.
And then they are interrogating the guy, and he bites down on the electric. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I remember. Yeah.
All right, Ty, what you got next?
All right, so this next one I'm gonna skip in my list and move down to the next one because this is the one I really want to do. I want a Jason Bourne movie with, and it doesn't have to be a Jedi, although I do think it's cool if it is. I want somebody to wake up and not know who they are, and they're awesome, right? So you and I have talked offline a little bit, Matt, about how I get frustrated with Din's shitty fighting in The Mandalorian. And I mean, I like that he's a brawler. Like, he sort of leans into this. I'm not fast, but I'm tough. And so,
yes,
he just tanks it up, right? When it's necessary. And obviously they gave him the armor so he could be overpowered like that, right? But I think it would be fun to have someone who was maybe a disarmed Jedi and didn't know they were a Jedi, wake up, and maybe they were a Sith and they didn't actually even. They're kind of gray and maybe only on the dark side because it was convenient or whatever. And then over time, they discover that they were evil, right? And it's but they're going around kicking ass or trying to find their identity. And they don't really know why they can kick so much ass. They're just doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Or it kind of in the Jason Bourne realm, they come to the realization, oh, fuck, I was a Sith.
Exactly. Yeah.
And realize I did some bad stuff. So I'm going to try to atone for that a little bit by doing something else. Yeah, so they're kind of switching sides because it's not like Jason Bourne was a really good guy in his past.
No.
So he worked for Sith Stone instead of Treadstone.
Nice.
It's real tough. This is right after the what was the other one you called it? The Hyperleap.
The Hyperleap.
We're working real hard on these names.
Well, it's in the moment, It's tough.
You need a whiteboard and an hour to come up with a name. Naming things is maybe the hardest thing in the world to do.
Oh, it's so hard.
Because no matter what you decide on, it sounds dumb to you by the time you've decided on it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look at how many things sound dumb just in Star Wars to begin with. They just name shit like the most ridiculous things.
Well, that's why character names are always so funny because somebody will drop a name and you're like, yep. I mean, it's right there. It's the same kind of names that George Lucas made. They're just a little bit off.
You say Grogu now like it's no big deal, but remember at the time it was I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
Everybody
didn't. Yeah, nobody liked that one. Yeah. I'm gonna stay. I think there were a lot of people who are I'm gonna keep calling him Baby Yoda. Fuck this.
I agree. I think for a year people were still saying Baby Yoda.
Yeah. Now it's become common. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I'm with you, Matt. So this idea that they discover they were doing evil, tries to atone. So I think the first season ends with the discovery, right? That's the twist.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe you don't even get a lightsaber involved until the second season, and then they discover they're skilled with it or whatever. Maybe in some sort of. They involve themselves maybe in an incident that doesn't involve them and help out a Jedi who's overwhelmed and grab one of the Sith sabers and is particularly skilled with it. And now they realize, so there's you could really build toward it, right? Where you think you get 2, 3, 4 seasons out of a show like that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Starkiller, and that's how they bring him into the continuity.
Oh, there you go.
He just doesn't even know who he is.
Yeah. And instead of getting those pills that they give them, those meds, it's actually little midichlorian pills.
It's Nepenthe.
I'm kidding.
You can explain anything with time travel and nanobots.
It's true. It's true. Well, no, but there's a lot of room there I mean, they can go anywhere in the in the galaxy. Like it leaves a big wide open door to kind of touch on any story and any piece of that galaxy, which is really cool. I think that's a good idea.
That's been my kind of goal with these ideas is like, can we make it as broad as possible so there's no limitation on what we can actually engage with as far as the content is concerned? Like you can go anywhere, right? Like traveling all over the place, needing to move from planet to planet, whatever. They sort of powering up as they go, right? They get a ship, they get a gun, they get a lightsaber, like a little video game feel to it, right? But I think I would really like the idea of I don't know who I am, I just know I have superpowers.
Yeah, if you wake up and have the Force and don't know it, and like you do weird things, like just everyday life, you're like, God, I wish that was here. Oh, and it's in my hand. Like what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
All right, good one, Jay. What do you got next?
Now, do you wrap up and then a few years later, do you come back with a shitty version? I never saw the fourth movie or the spinoff with Renner.
So, okay, I'm a sucker for these movies, so I'll like them all. It's like that's just where I am. There are certainly stronger movies than others. I actually was cool with the Renner one. I mean, it was a total like kind of offshoot, but there were little ties back. Oscar Isaac was in it. We had Poe Dameron in it.
Didn't one of the Gilroys write that? Now that I think about it,
that one with Renner.
I think.
Well, they might have because Tony was all over that Bourne.
The
series.
Bourne Legacy is directed by Tony.
Okay,
I don't know who wrote it.
Okay. But yeah, I totally down with all those movies. I love all those movies. So you got me on the hook there for anything that's like kind of spy-ish. I tend to lean into quite a lot. So I'm an easy sell on that one.
All right.
What do you got?
Well, I'll save my spy one for last then.
Okay.
To keep you in the game, but I don't have a title for this one, but it's the Terminator.
Okay.
So we'll go with Terminator Wars. Now, you guys are gonna help me with timelines here, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the synopsis is: in a future where the First Order has fallen and the galaxy is now protected by the new Jedi Order, a secret sect of the Sith known as the Acolytes of Shiv hide beyond the Outer Rim. The Jedi Order learns that the Acolytes have access to the world between worlds and are looking to change the course of history by sending back a cybernetic enhanced Jedi clone of the past to kill Anakin Skywalker.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Our lead is Kyle Reese Runner.
Spent a lot of time on plot, not a lot of time on names. I get that's fine.
But why are they sent? So the Jedi are trying to kill Anakin to prevent the coming of Vader.
No. This Order of Sith are they're trying to protect. Because so in my head, Anakin seems to be an issue because he ends up killing Palpatine, right?
What?
No, technically no.
Well, technically Rey does.
Well, if you go there, right? But we're looking at going into this timeline or in before.
Okay, I understand.
So I've got Kyle is a Jedi who struggles with the faith in the Force after the second rise of the First Order, where his mother and master ends up killed. He is sent back through the world between worlds to protect Shmi. So he ends up now. If you play around with this a little bit and you catch the tease of who his mother's Rey. So he's got a little bit of Palp's DNA, right?
Yeah.
So if he knocks up Shmi, then that makes
her name is Shmi. Are you talking about Shmi or you're changing the name? Okay,
Shmi. Shimmy. So it kind of makes the full circle there, right? I've got who do I got here? I got C-187, a reprogrammed Terminator clone of Qui-Gon Jinn sent to hunt down Shimmy and kill her before she gives birth.
And what made you pick 187?
Exactly.
Because it's the code for murder?
Death.
Homicide.
Murder, death, kill. Yeah. And then there's a rogue Imperial droid who joins Kyle named ICUP-2.
Oh, God.
Then I just got silly.
Great.
But yeah, I was creating characters.
Great.
I like the concept. I am a huge Terminator fan. It's one of my favorite movies. You got me there.
So again, though, we end up on Tatooine, and you already had this in your Back to the Future. So I feel like maybe if we just like merge stories a little bit, but
we could do it.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to envision. So Kyle. So explain that to me again. Kyle is going to go. He's the one that's going to go back to protect Shmi.
Correct.
And he's going to bang Shmi and end up being Anakin's father.
Yes.
Okay. So Anakin.
Yes.
But it's not Anakin sending him back. It's other people sending him back. Right. Because they want Anakin dead. Yeah. Okay. Well, wait a minute. Hold on.
Now, the whole idea here is by the end, these fucking acolytes are trying to bring Palpatine back again. And it's really just to piss off all the listeners who somehow don't want him to return again.
Oh my God. I think this one needs a little bit of work, but I see where you're going.
There's work there. Trust me. Well, you got to go because then you got to go into like the Kyle Reese, right? Impregnates her. She's the Sarah Connor. She gives birth, but then Qui-Gon shows up and he's like, "What the fuck?" And she's scared of him. So then we're changing the timeline because well, no, that wouldn't. Was she because Qui-Gon is playing the Terminator basically, right? He's scary in the first one. He's good in the second one. So then we're kind of in the prequels. Anakin's born. And she's like, who's this fool?
Wait, hold on. Qui-Gon is the Terminator?
Told you I got lost. Yeah, it's a cloned version of Qui-Gon.
Oh, it's a clone. Okay, gotcha. Right.
Yes.
Okay. Because there's two versions.
Trust me, this all makes sense.
They're walking in one room while the other one leaves. It's like trying to...
Well, this is before Anakin was born.
I like the entire relentless hunter idea, and I like the cybernetic, whether it's a Force user or a Jedi or whatever, that they're sending back in time. You trying to fit it into the existing timeline is making it real tough. But I appreciate the inspiration. I like where you're going here, especially since Luke was, or Anakin rather, was, immaculate conception.
Yes, right. Are they listening, Jay? Filoni? Are they listening?
Yeah, they're always listening.
Yeah, they're always listening.
Yeah. Well, there's the comic book that tells the story where, was it Ghost user Palpatine is holding Shmi's belly, and supposedly he impregnates her through the Force or whatever, and that's Anakin.
I don't know that's part of the story.
I've heard this, yes.
Mm-hmm. So this is a let me feel your belly before she's even pregnant. Like, why are you touching my belly, freak? And then now you're pregnant.
Yeah, so it's but I guess it would be canon because it was Marvel comic. It was just a couple years ago. But then they kind of tried, I think they were pulling back on that because the internet blew up. They're like, well, no, it was just like from a certain point of view, Is that really what he was saying? But I took it that way. If you fucking read it and look at it, it's like, yeah, he's throwing a seed in there.
I'm looking at this Terminator thing as just a way to redo all of the original sequel trilogy. If you're gonna make Qui-Gon, you could change everything about what happens in the following two movies.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, people want to retcon it anyway, so
change the timelines.
I would just like to have some watchable films because it's tough. Those are tough watches.
Well, let's get a budget together and we'll see if this one's watchable.
It's going to take a while to get that money.
It's got to be better than most of the Terminator movies. That's all.
But the Terminator got off track there as it went along. Okay, my next one is my all mine are stupid, but I did The Office.
Now I want to know how this is going to work in the Star Wars world.
So it's got to be Imperials. It can't be the Republic or the New Republic. It just wouldn't work.
Is Tim Meadows the lead? Is he the Michael?
No, but it's my first thought. My head goes to Andor and the ISB right away because that's kind of a little bit of what we experienced in that show. And I mean, and just if for nothing else, to have the confessional style video segments with all those people would be so fucking funny. Like Dedra's like, I'm working with idiots. Like she would be so mad all the time. I kind of had Portagaz as the Michael Scott-ish type guy. The guy who was her boss, Major Portagaz.
Okay. He
would have to kind of be that guy. Kind of thinks he's clever, but is a little bit out of his depth at times. You know what I mean? So that makes sense to me. And then, but of course, you have to work in Cyril and the budding office romance because Cyril and Dedra are Dwight and Angela, not Jim and Pam.
Oh, okay.
See, I think Cyril is Andy Bernard.
Oh, he could be the Nard Dog.
Yeah.
Nard Dog.
I don't think he's upbeat enough.
Hey, Tuna.
Maybe not.
You can adapt the character.
Similar hapless vibes, though. Like, oh, you're right, though. But Dwight likes the rules. Cyril's really like all about the regiment.
And just, I could just see that him dialing in on that. I could see Cyril being a beet farmer.
Man, you're killing my vibe because the next one is we have to go the other way. But that's all right.
Well, you can keep expanding it. I was trying to figure out, like, that's what I kept trying to do too much probably with this assignment is like relating characters that we've seen to Star Wars because it's not always going to work. Because I was like, well, then, okay, I guess, like who's Lonnie? Like the rebel spy? I'm like, who the hell's that? Is that like Creed? I don't know who that would be.
Yeah, I was more concerned about plot machinations, right? Like I wanted to take the plot. Trying to do a like for like remake with other actors, it's going to be hard.
Yeah. It's just
Yeah.
So this would just be just the ridiculous bureaucracy of the ISB and just all the personal relationships within that space and all the people like sucking up and just all those different things you've seen in The Office. But the biggest thing for me, the biggest draw was just the testimonials, because I just thought it would be so funny to see those little shots of those different characters talking about like what's going on and how they're losing their minds.
So stay with me. It's exactly the same thing, only it's the building of the Death Star is The Office, and Krennic is Michael Scott.
Yeah, that works.
Right, because he sucks. He actually doesn't know how to do anything. He's just a manager.
Krennic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and you get Ben Mendelsohn to come back and do it, because I think he'd be really good at that.
And he's ISB. It still ties in a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's still that crew. It's the white coats,
Well, then you could do like the season where there's Scranton and what's the other office,
Oh,
and then
Stanford, right?
Yeah.
Stanford, Connecticut?
Stanford?
That's correct.
Yeah. There's a lot of room there. Would Star Wars ever do a comedy like that? No.
Probably not.
But it would be
Well,
fun.
I mean, they've got detours sitting in the bank somewhere they won't release, and that looks hilarious.
Yeah.
So
I can't imagine how upset a certain type of Star Wars fan would be at this show.
Oh, God, they'd hate it.
oh man, yeah,
That makes me want to have it more.
yeah. But it has to be like that comedy, like that uncomfortable. You're not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
Office comedy, not like today's shit. Like nothing would be funny. You have to be willing to offend.
I think you would be willing to offend, but I think it's mostly just, I think what's so good or bad. Some people hate those type of shows because people don't like that squirmy feeling.
Yeah,
they don't like
my
sitting
wife
with
hates
it.
that stuff.
See, so, yeah, mine's the same way. It's like it's
I fucking love it.
Yeah. Me
enjoyed The Office. She enjoyed The Office, but other shows that I've watched with her, and I think she just can't deal with it makes people uncomfortable.
Like if you watch any Ted Lasso, every Nate scene is like the most uncomfortable thing in the world.
Right.
Yeah.
Because he's so awkward and weird.
Yeah.
Stop being such a weird.
Yep.
Yeah, but I think that you're right. I think you would piss off this would be such a niche film or niche project for Star Wars, because there would only be a certain group of people. It would be the people who are positive about all Star Wars things and want to watch RFB kind of people who would be like, I'll watch anything.
Yep.
But then you'd also have people who'd be like, this is new and different and kind of funny. Like, I like how they're like doing a different take on this, but you have to be willing to sit with that really awkward.
Well, that's how you bring in other audiences, right? Like people who, Star Wars isn't my thing, but you create something a little different and new, and they watch that, then they start trickling and watching other things,
Yeah.
So I would like to see a little comedy workplace in the Star Wars universe. It's a good idea. Now, a little secret, I don't know how long it took for me, probably years after I've watched The Office, for me to know that it made other people uncomfortable. Like, to me, it was just a fucking funny show. Like, I didn't realize, like, people were so up in arms about it. Like, oh, you can't do that. You can't act like that. Or you shouldn't say things like that in work. Because everywhere I've ever worked, you had somebody, a few people that would, not, it wasn't every fucking day like that, but I mean, those events are relatable for a reason.
Yeah, they're relatable. Of course, they take every small dose of anything you've experienced in The Office and jack it up by 10 because you're trying to make a comedy. But you're right. There's a lot of that you experience in an office setting, and so it just was pulling all those things out. I mean, it's like watching the movie Office Space as well. We've all experienced those types of people in the corporate world where you're just like, oh, like just so cringeworthy. So I don't know. I think it would be fun.
That's why I keep coming back to Krennic, because he's the perfect asshole boss.
He would be a good one. That's a good call. He makes more sense than Portagaz for sure. I like that one. Okay, Ty, you're up next.
All right, so this one's really straightforward. I particularly have, having watched the Clone Wars, I have a lot more questions about the reasoning behind abandoning a working military machine that's creating soldiers for you. And I know that there's something about them being, there's been lots of throwaway lines from Tarkin in particular about under the Jedi, the clones have developed too much individuality and self, whatever his reason is for moving on. But this idea that creating a conscript army is going to make them more loyal is interesting to me, because that doesn't really make sense to me, that you would have volunteers be more loyal, because I think they're generally doing it for very, very few. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But in my experience, a lot of the people in my life I know that have joined the military that weren't already in a military family did it because they did have a lot of other options professionally after they finished school. And that is not someone who's like a true believer, right? They're not it's not Pat Tillman, going to Afghanistan after 9/11, right? And so you got to assume with the force of stormtroopers being as large as it is is more people who were forced into the life than actually chose it because they wanted to be in the military. So therefore, I want just basically a shot-for-shot remake of Full Metal Jacket, only just make it stormtroopers. Like, I want more details on what these people who are in those suits are like, because we don't get any of that. Like, we got a little bit of it in The Mandalorian when they were hanging out, or what? Maybe it was in Boba Fett. That honestly doesn't make any difference which show we're talking about. But you know the part where those two guys are sitting outside bullshitting?
Yeah.
That was one of the best Star Wars scenes,
Yeah.
like in recent memory.
Before they beat Grogu? Yeah.
The Sudeikis scene. That's
Yes.
Mandalorian, where they're like sitting there talking about like, I don't want to piss that guy off.
Yes.
Like he killed the
Yes.
guy just a second ago. Like they're all yeah.
Yes.
It was very funny. I mean
Yeah.
that's as close to straight comedy, like we were just talking about The Office thing. That's as close to straight
Yes.
comedy as we've seen from Star Wars. You know, there's a lot of comedic moments in the various shows and series, but that was like a straight up. We want to do a bit.
Yes.
Yep. So I want it doesn't have to be like a shot-for-shot remake, but essentially I want a boot camp movie or series with stormtroopers.
There would be so many private piles in that series.
Oh,
There would be a lot of
and
private
then
piles.
the third act is they're sent off to war, and it's the end of Rogue One
There you go.
on the tropical planet.
Or it's the whatever the mission is on Solo, where he meets up with.
Oh yeah.
Maybe Aaron Reich pops in. He shows up in the show when he joins the.
Yeah.
Who's the drill sergeant? That's what I got to figure out. I want to know who's going to fill that role. That's a tough one. You probably have to bring it. Is Leah Ermey alive still?
No, he's dead.
He died. Damn it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he can
All right.
do it at this point anyway.
He probably couldn't. You need somebody like that. You need a screamer, like somebody who's really going to whip him into shape. Because I mean that was Full Metal Jacket is such an interesting movie because it's literally two movies.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I really tend to favor the first half. You know, that's the most interesting to me. And Lee Ermey's so freaking good. And I mean, they've talked.
Yeah.
You know, you've seen stories about how he improvised a lot of that shit just because he was in that role before in his real life.
He was hired as a consultant, I believe, and the person they ended up switching, like having him do the role because he was so good at it.
Yeah.
Like he was better than the actor that was supposed to be doing it. He's like, why don't you just do
Right.
this?
He was the coach, right? He was the advisor.
Yes. Yep.
I think you could do. I think Clancy Brown would be a good selection.
He's I mean, that makes a lot of sense considering his Star Wars history.
Yeah.
I think that you could probably have. I can't remember the dude's name now, so go on while I think about it because I don't have it now.
What movie?
What is the guy in Stripes?
Bill Murray?
Oh.
No, not the main
Not
character,
Bill Murray,
the
not
drill
the-
sergeant, like one of those guys.
Oh,
that
shit.
guy's probably
Yeah,
dead
what
now,
is his
too.
name?
I don't
Oh,
I
know.
can't
it
remember.
was
He's
the-
got to be dead.
Yeah.
Was he the principal in Breakfast Club?
No, that's
No,
a
different
different
guy.
guy.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
but
Sergeant
Stripes is
Sergeant
like-
Hulka is his name in Stripes.
Okay. Okay.
His name
But
is
yeah, that was
Warren
40 years
Oates.
ago.
Yeah.
Warren Oates.
He's dead. He died in 1982.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
A year later?
Yeah, I guess.
Because I think it came out in '81.
That
Oh, my
sounds
God.
right. Yeah.
You know who has like a presence of like just fucking asshole, and you hate him and everything, but he's so fun to watch. Is his name's escaping me, but he was the head Lannister in Game of Thrones.
Charles Dance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Charles Dance is. Whew.
That's more of a smarm though.
Right. Yeah,
He'd
he's
be a
not the
really
yeller.
good Imperial officer.
Mm-hmm.
Bring him in. They borrow from Game of Thrones a lot.
He'd be a good Thrawn, actually.
That's true.
Hey, we've already got that cast.
I know, but that just hit me. Wow.
Well, there's a lot you could do with that. I mean, I like I said, I'd be so focused in on their training and how they become stormtroopers. Like when they first come in and are getting their head shaved and all that stuff, and like getting thrown into the mixer as far as that training goes.
Yeah.
That would be interesting to watch. And you're right. I mean, it's probably similar in the sense that these stormtroopers are people who didn't have options, people who are on worlds that were their life was just absolute dog shit. Like this was their way to get out. You know, It was the only way to get out.
Well, that's how they kind of cover it in Andor, or not Andor, in the Bad Batch, though, right? The group of people that are with Crosshair.
Yeah.
Right? They discuss like getting a meal and knowing where their next meal is coming from and some place to sleep, and yeah.
Yeah, but you get the patina of like all these different people, right? You could have the military family guy who's like, well, my dad's been an Imperial officer my whole life, blah blah.
Right.
It's always been my dream.
Tarkin's grandchild.
There you go. Right, and he's like privileged and kind of an asshole and like is treated differently. Then you've got the scrubs who are like just trying to make it, stay alive, like you're talking about. And then maybe you've got the disillusioned, like I bought into the propaganda, and now that I'm here, it's like just a rude awakening after rude awakening.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens if you, I mean, can you really like wash out of that academy or of that, you know what I mean? Like when you commit, are you kind of locked in blood? Because I wonder if stormtroopers ever just went, you know what, I'm not cutting it. This is not going to work. So they like got rid of him. I don't think
We've
that
only ever
really...
seen one defect, right? I mean, if you count Solo, we've seen two, Finn and Han Solo.
And well, and all the crew of oh god, what's her name in the last one, Force Away or the Rise of Skywalker? Oh my god, what's her name? It's the guy that works with Finn. They think that she's Lando's daughter. They're all ex-stormtroopers.
Okay. Yes.
Why can't I think of her name? It's with a J. Why can't I think of her goddamn name? Anyway,
I kind of don't watch those movies. That's why I can't think of his name. Rise of Skywalker was on cable the other day, and I think my wife was just watching it, like because it was just on, and I'm realizing I have only seen this movie once.
Oh really?
Do you hate them?
No, I just they're poorly paced, and so I have a hard time getting through them. It's just the same way I don't really watch the prequels either. Like I don't really watch them unless I'm going to sit down and intentionally like have something to do. Like I want to take notes or something, but I don't watch them for pleasure.
Jonna is her name.
Jada.
Yeah,
I was going to say Jada.
Definitely did not have that.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see what that option is. Like if they go to the drill sergeant or whomever and say like, I can't cut this. And they're like, too fucking bad. Like you signed the dotted line, you're in for good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there's probably the prison, like, on Andor. Like, you're not going to be a stormtrooper, we'll just put you somewhere.
Yeah, you're one of these shitty guards.
You could be cogs, make the cogs for our Death Star.
I thought at least they would make you like the Department of Corrections like officer.
There you go.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit more reasonable. But you're right. Maybe they just say, fuck you, you're in the prison. We would like to introduce you to a young man or an older gentleman named Kino Loy. He's going to be your boss.
Yeah.
The military has cooks and guys that just load crates too.
Yeah.
True. So Jay, what's your last one?
24. Coruscant.
Okay.
So is Jack Bauer working for the Empire against the Rebellion?
Okay. Work out the timeline with me here.
Oh no, not this again.
I got in the heart of the Empire, because it would be the Empire if we're going like just after, like between Andor and Episode 4, right?
Okay.
No. Yes. Because
But before Rogue One?
Prior to Rogue One.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we've got a secret counterterrorism unit known as CTU, Coruscant, blah, 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 racing against the clock to stop a series of devastating attacks on Coruscant, led by the tough and uncompromising agent Cyril Karn. They must navigate the political intrigue and corporation of the Senate with the help of Mon Mothma. Now, this is my idea is we think he turns good by the end, right? Like we see like in the trailer, we see like elements of like, is he not really all about helping the Empire or whatever? So he becomes part of this like rogue agency led by Mon Mothma who, political intrigue and stuff.
Hold on. Could you imagine that first meeting when they're like somebody brings in Cyril to meet Mon and she's like, this guy?
Yeah.
With the seatbelt tie? That guy? No.
Yeah, he's going to have to come a little, well, okay. So this is a few years later. He's killed his mom, so he's battling demons.
Finally.
He's an alcoholic instead of a heroin addict. He's just, he's got some problems and he has to work and help this out. So yeah, most of this takes place on Coruscant, and Bail Organa is the one that they're looking to kill. They learn. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
And then where the hell is Ahsoka at this time? Because I was like, we need like a really badass like agent to help out like on the side or whatever. So this is
we don't
like
know.
Cyril.
Nobody knows.
Yeah. So she's sort of signed up through Mon Mothma, and she's like Cyril's helper in this. So she's whooping some ass in the background, running the seedy streets.
Is this a live action or animated show?
Oh, it's got to be live action.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah.
Have we ever determined how much time the original trilogy like takes place over?
It's like 3 years, 4 years, somewhere in there. Because the break, I believe the break between A New Hope and Empire is like the same as the movie release. It's meant to be like a few years later.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so they have to start making the Death Star again.
Right. Because I think they say Empire's 3 ABY and Return of the Jedi is 4 ABY.
Okay, I'm just trying to think about like how old is Ahsoka? She's got to be like 45, right?
In the show we're gonna get now,
Yeah.
Because they've kicked forward a couple years from the Mando started in like 9 ABY, but
Right.
they've kicked forward a little bit, so call it 11. Let's say she was in the Clone Wars and she was like 14 or something
yeah.
in that, right?
Yeah.
So 33, like mid 40s.
Okay, so the casting actually makes sense.
So I was just going to say if it's.
I didn't mean to sidebar us there. I just was like, you started thinking about like, where would she fit in? So how old would she be in this series that you're talking about? So timeline wise, she's probably in her late 20s. So she'd probably be at like, nearly peak ass kicking age. So I like that idea. I like the idea, the way you set the show up. You get a lot of options for, again, I think you get to at least see a lot of the underworld of Coruscant as an option there.
Yeah. Yep.
You can engage with a lot of the different criminal elements, building a terrorist. It'd be interesting, I think, to understand how the rebels are using the indifference of the Empire to use maybe non-good actors to their own ends, right? Like, I'm going to have this subcell of actual bounty hunters or criminals execute these, these crimes essentially against the Empire. And to see how that gets handled, I'd be really interested to see how they're trying to infiltrate that, what the monitoring is like. Because actually, that's one of the weird things of Star Wars, right? Is it is hyper advanced technology, but it's happening essentially in like 1980 forever, right? Because everything has to look like it's got to be like there's VHS tapes. Just because of the nature of the world that was established for us, right? So the let's, like how in Mandalorian, it's like, don't think too hard about how the fobs work.
Right.
Sure.
Yes.
Because they run on plot. So don't worry too much about the actual functionality of the tech.
Plot.
So I'm very curious. I would actually love a little bit of retconning about how sort of chain codes work and all the stuff that goes along with like what you'd have to have for a proper surveillance network. Because that's something we see the ISB, but we don't really understand outside of sort of whispers or word of mouth communication from spies on the ground. We don't ever really understand what the surveillance state capabilities are.
Right.
But it does seem like Luthen and Mon Mothma, for instance, are very concerned about them in Andor, beyond just individuals. But it does seem primarily people driven. Anyway, I'd be really curious to flesh that part of it out.
Yeah, I see this almost like a darker sequel to Andor. Like after the events, like this is just, shit just keeps amping up.
I do like the idea of a series set when the rebels are operating like terrorists.
Yeah. Because like you're looking at it like, well, they're supposed to be my good guys,
right.
And like who is, because at that point, like Mon Mothma is part of that group, but who's, so is it who's actually, so is it the Empire that's trying to kill Bail Organa and looking, blaming it on them? Like who is it? Where's all this coming from? I think this could really work.
Yeah, you get an opportunity to work in Saw and his rebels.
You definitely do.
Being like the militant arm, the ones that are willing to do the wet work. There's a lot of potential there.
It would have to be, Saw would be dead if this, because Andor runs into Rogue One. So
it doesn't have to be Saw himself.
His group, yes, or the leftovers.
Well, he's still.
I thought you were saying this
if it's between Andor and Rogue One.
Well,
we talked about before. Well, there's only a few years, but that's all we really need.
No. I know what I'm saying. It's between the Andor we've seen so far and Rogue One. Because Andor is going to run right up to Rogue One, eventually.
But yeah, like a side series where it's like, here's all the stuff that people who aren't casting Andor were doing.
Yeah.
Right? The rebellion simply has to be bigger right now than even Luthen, Mon Mothma, and like 5 people, right? I mean,
absolutely.
We know Saw exists.
It's just
but none of them are working together. That's the thing.
That would be interesting too, to like have the intermotivational politics of the different rebellion factions, which inevitably had to be resolved, right? Because at some point, even in the original trilogy, you get that tense meeting where Mon Mothma's in charge, but like there's obviously other commanders who have different opinions on the right way to move forward. So I think exploring who those people are and what they were in charge of would be very interesting. Mm-hmm. So not just the counterterrorism unit, but also you almost get 2 shows in one. You get an Empire side and a rebellion side.
Right.
Yeah.
You're talking about the meeting they have in Rogue One where they're all trying to figure out if they're going to attack the Death Star or not?
Yeah.
Or whatever?
Yeah.
I do like the idea of telling the story from the other side. I think that's one of the things that's going to be really interesting about the Acolyte is that's what it's going to be. It's from the Sith point of view. So it's like anything, like even those books that I've been reading, those from a certain point of view. It's so hard to not say our name.
I know it is. Yeah.
But those books are great because they tell these little stories of different angles and the way different people interpret stuff. So we're so used to seeing it from the good guy perspective. I think having a show that tells it the other way is a great idea.
Yeah.
It will be interesting because how they land that, because it does feel like the Sith motivation is primarily accumulation of power and trying not to die.
Yeah.
Right? Like I want to cheat death and I want to be as powerful as possible. And that's really all I kind of care about. Everything else is secondary.
Yep. All right. Book it up. Filoni, get on it. All right, my last one. I kind of went in reverse or whatever you want to say it. Like you just get dumber as I go. So this is the dumbest of the ones. ER or any kind of medical drama.
Okay.
There's a lot of room to do that in Star Wars. There's a lot of carnage. But the problem I find in creating this when I was going through it is I was like, it's just going to be a show about droids because the droids really handle all the medical stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So how do you do that? Like most doctors in Star Wars are like scientists or people who are doing like shitty experimental stuff on, unethical stuff. So how do you do that with robots? You'd have to work, obviously, it would have to be in tandem. It'd be robots and like the humans that are dealing with them, the robots being sick of the humans being kind of shitty at their jobs, that kind of stuff.
Maybe it's a poorer planet where they can't afford the droid jet to put them in everywhere. So there's like one on every floor.
Yeah, that could be.
Maybe instead of ER, it's MASH.
I thought about MASH too. MASH would be a good one.
I think if you did a battlefield medics, you'd get more. Because then the droids actually, it would matter because they would also have self-preservation instincts. And then meanwhile, they'd be getting put in harm's way by people who wanted them to just do the job.
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah, I had written down ER or MASH, but I couldn't quite come up with the MASH angle. That's a good point.
The problem with ER is that it's actually a romance show. Right? Like it's a medical drama, but all medical dramas are actually soap operas, right? They're rather about the interpersonal relationships of the doctors, correct?
Right.
And so with droids, that doesn't really work very well. And like you say, it's like, what is the medical part of it? It's just droids spraying back on you. There's no other treatment.
Well, I was going to say that, or could you imagine the prosthetic business in Star Wars? It is booming. I mean, it's just arms constantly being cut off.
So so if you're talking more like the body mod people, the guy that like saved Fennec Shan's life, like if we could get some of that in there, then I think we have something there where you're like, there's a secondary cybernetics maybe kind of thing.
Yeah, it's kind of back alley surgeries, It's like it's things you have to do because you don't have a health plan and you're trying to do whatever you can to survive. Yeah, that would be kind of interesting. But I do like the MASH idea too. The fact that you tie it into a battlefield scenario and the perils of that, or
the movie or the TV show.
Well, I was thinking the TV show, but you could do
the movie was more serious, right? The TV show was
more comical,
just comedy, yeah.
I think it's got to be sort of somewhat comedy, like I'm a dramedy, right? Like it's dramatic, but they're like cracking jokes and getting by with the stress. And whatever.
Yeah, you don't want it to be like China Beach. It's a little too serious, I think you want to be a little bit more MASH.
Yeah, you gotta have some Anzellans in there doing the cybernetics.
Of course.
Yeah.
Perfect example. Great idea.
some Ugnaughts working on the droids who work on the people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, right, exactly. And more Ugnaughts is always better. I thought too about if it was like, how does the Order 66 episode go if you do that? If they had that kind of thing. And then I thought, well, shit, it's going to be probably more of a coroner day than it is a doctor day for Order 66 because most of them are already dead. But some of those people were taken to hospitals and tried to be, like, and they're like, there's not enough Bacta in the world to save these kids,
Ooh, maybe that's the pilot episode as it starts on Order 66.
Yeah. And everybody's just mental fuck. They're just like, oh my God, what are we doing here? How do we save anybody?
You got to save that episode for Sweeps Week. Do they still have Sweeps Week? I don't know how they do network TV anymore.
I don't know that it works that way anymore. Anyway, that was my last dumb idea.
All right.
Ty, what you got? One more?
Well, really, it's just this one's not even fleshed out. I just, the very first episode of Visions was an anime about a samurai. I just want a samurai Jedi kung fu show, right? Like so this is almost like the Bourne one, but in this one, the person is just like a gray Jedi who's just doing individual adventures, kind of righting wrongs and moving from small town to small town or small planet to small planet. I don't really have much more than that. Just the idea of like somebody who's a kick-ass sword fighter, a laser sword fighter.
So like the Seven Samurai.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Which is a big influence on Lucas was that. And at one time that was Snyder's version of a Star Wars movie. And then he turned it into, was it Rebel Moon?
Oh, I don't know that.
I don't know that either.
Yeah. The Netflix movie, he's two of them, Rebel Moon 1 and 2, but it was originally based off of his Star Wars script that he wanted to do. Or his idea. I don't know if he ever completed a full script, but like when they were going around looking for directors when Disney first took over, I think that was like his big idea was taking the Seven Samurai and actually making a Star Wars version of it.
This sounds like typical Jay on the toilet reading Variety magazine stuff.
You're probably not far off. I'm obsessed with the minutia of Hollywood. Like I love all the behind the scenes shit that never gets made. Yeah.
And it's just sad because it works out that it's all about people's egos because everything is.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had written down at one point, Ty, like Ronin and I was thinking about the movie Ronin.
Yeah.
Is that what you were referring to?
Yes.
Okay, because that is a movie. I love that movie, and I feel like it got slept on. Like I feel like not a lot of people.
Like the Robert De Niro?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Like I don't think it did particularly great at the box office, and I just felt like nobody really talks about it. I fucking love that.
No,
movie.
I think
The
every
cast is
every
amazing.
dude of our age, if you hey, do you like Ronin? Everybody's like, yes, I'm like my favorite.
Yeah, they're in.
I think that movie found an audience on DVD. It was one of those movies where DVDs, like that was one of those where everyone started watching that movie because it was you're right. I don't think it did well box office wise, and it was was it Frankenheimer? It was one of his last movies.
I think it is. I think you're right.
Yeah.
It's one of those movies definitely where you went into Blockbuster and were like, hey, and actually, I probably still VHS, Jay, because we're talking about 1998.
Is that
Yeah.
So
probably?
you probably went to Blockbuster and like, oh, Robert De Niro, Jean Reno, I'll watch this.
Yeah.
And then you watch it and you watch it with your buddies and you're like, holy shit, this is the best movie we've ever seen.
Yeah.
You're looking at the cast. You're like, Sean Bean. Well, he's gonna die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Katarina Witt. Fuck, I'm in.
Is what's her face in that? Is she the she was the girl that was
Natasha
Yes.
McElhone.
Yeah, The Devil's Own with Brad
Yes.
Pitt, and then she was Kiefer Sutherland's wife in The President. What was that?
And she was in
Designated Survivor?
Californication.
Yes, you're right. Yeah.
Good shit. You know who else was in that movie? Luthen.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
really? Okay.
That's
He's
right.
in that movie.
See, so now we got a spinoff right there.
It's fucking loaded. The car chases are awesome. It is such a good movie. If you're listening to the show and have not seen Ronin, go watch Ronin right now.
Immediately. Like, it's probably it's definitely up there with movie I have watched the most times, like, post-release. It's definitely in the top
really?
10 of movies I've watched repeatedly.
Yeah.
This is one of the Mission Impossible did well. What else do we have?
And you know, Natasha McElhonne's character's name is Deirdre in the movie.
Oh shit! Nice tie back. I
Not
like
Dedra,
that.
though. It's not Dedra.
Not Dedra. No. Okay. Did you guys have any others, like just quick hitters?
I had a Miami Vice idea based on that cop show that I was talking about. Like, I think there'd be something funny about just, I don't know, like two sort of, like a buddy cop show, but not funny.
Yeah.
I don't know. Dramatic, maybe sometimes funny.
You would have to shoot it though. What's either that planet that Andor's on with the beach?
Yes.
You know, and the
Niamos, is that what it's
K2SOs,
called?
or the Rogue One, the end planet. Like you need the tropic and the sand and the.
Yeah.
You got to have the pastels. Like go all out. Like
Yeah, no, it has to have the Miami Vice feel if you're going to do it, for sure.
Yes. Yeah.
And the
80s
music. You gotta have
synthesized
the music.
music. Oh, hell yeah.
That's pretty easy.
Don
though.
Johnson's
Synth
the
music.
captain of the Force.
That's what I loved about Andor. Why there was like synth music in it.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very different take with the music. Like they really bounced around and tried a lot of different things out, which I thought was cool. It wasn't just the tried and true.
Well, there was what was the Mandalorian? The episode where it was the whole episode about Pershing, right? No, after where she goes to meet the droid with Moff Gideon's
Yeah.
hologram, right?
Holo.
You know, like when she's walking down that street, like there's
Playing
that
like
weird
almost
synth.
like industrial music.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was weird. So yeah, they changed the music quite a bit in the shows.
Yeah. I had written down at one point, and I thought to try to build this out, but I got nowhere. Arrested Development, but Jedi Council. Because here's the thing: there's no big families in Star Wars. You notice that? There's just
Well,
none.
because they take you away from
Yeah,
your
everybody
family.
dies. in Star
I think
Wars.
that's what it is. So you just never have a big enough family to pull off Arrested Development. But I thought it would be funny to show like the Jedi Council, the way they and I know Ty knows this or it feels this way because he said I have a lengthy voicemail about it. But just all the stuff, all the questionable shit they did, and like all the stuff they missed.
Yeah.
It's very Bluth-like, you know, just like a total level of incompetence.
Yeah. How powerful could a Sith Lord be?
Right, exactly. I had Golden Girls. That was a good one I had.
Okay.
So my four are Leia, Holdo, Maz Kanata, and Mon Mothma for you. And you know
Okay.
Mon Mothma's playing that Blanche Devereaux role.
Yeah, she is.
So when is this occurring though? Because like Leia and Holdo are super dead.
This would have to be this. I don't know
This
where
was
the timeline
after
happens.
my
Okay, we're
timeline
not worried about
series
that.
or my Terminator series changes the timeline, so then they're all alive.
Didn't you guys have some listener responses too? I think Brian Hour suggested the basically Baywatch for the shore troopers.
Yes.
He said a show about a group of shore troopers who specialize in slow running on the beach. That was a nice call.
Okay.
And then he also said a show about Leonard Urso and Sheldon Krennic with their other nerdy friends, a really Big Bang Theory.
Okay. I think we could combine our Office idea with the Big Bang idea. I think that works. Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
I think it could. And then Meow God had Columbo, Coruscant's best private investigator that drives everyone crazy. Well, the funny thing about that is there is like on a smaller level, do you remember Tan Devo, who was in the Clone Wars, who kind of had like a John Lovitz vibe? He was an investigator that was like investigating when they had like the Senate murders.
Yes,
and I
he
think
was
when
the
Chuchi
worst.
got kidnapped. Yes.
I don't.
He kind of fits in a little bit of that Columbo.
What was his name?
Tan Devo. So, there was probably some guy in the cast named Dan Tevo and they reversed it. Tan Devo.
Yeah, he's like he's kind of
He's
a
kind of a
short little
know-it-all.
fat guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's sort of Columbo-esque.
He does have like a Lovitz kind of look.
But he sucks.
Well, he sucks and you root for Columbo.
He looks like shitty Gomez Adams.
Yeah.
Like his
He's
eyes.
got those dark
Yeah.
circles in his
Yeah,
eyes.
yeah.
That wasn't Matthew Broderick that did the voice, was it?
No, it was somebody. It was actually
There's a
it was the
picture
guy
of him next
who
to it in
did the
this
voice
Google.
for SpongeBob SquarePants.
Oh,
That's the guy who
okay.
did the voice for-
Kenny something.
I also had written down Falling Down. Anakin trying to get back to Padme and just running into fucking
Oh.
obstacles and just losing his mind.
The problem with that is that falling down is that defends is not technically a antagonist, right?
Right. True.
You're kind of rooting for him.
A little bit, at least early, and then as it goes on, you're kind of like, ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. It starts to get a little dodgy. But you're right.
Like, it's just like road rage to the nth degree, right? You just go crazy and like get out. Then he's just like storming the streets, shooting
It's
people.
everything.
and-
He gets out of his car because he can't stand the traffic, and he's trying to get to his daughter's birthday or whatever, and then he just keeps encountering like horrible situations and how he reacts to them. Like he goes to a fast food place and they're not serving breakfast anymore, and he fucking loses his shit. And then he runs into like this. He's hiding from somebody at one point, and he ends up in like a surplus store, and this fucking creepy racist dude is like, "You're like me." And it's just this whole. It's a crazy.
The
movie.
one that stands out in my mind is when he goes into the convenience store to buy a soda, and the guy's like 79 cents, and he's like 50 cents, because that's how much the price is supposed to be for a soda. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and it just
Does
they
it hold
do a-
up? Like if I watched that today, would it hold up?
I think so.
I don't know. There's some stuff in there that might not, but it's the one thing they really do a good job of in that movie is you almost feel as hot as it is in that movie. Like it's that sitting in a car without air conditioning hot, like just
Okay.
fucking miserable, and you're got like back sweat. I mean, that's how that
Yeah.
movie feels the whole time.
That's how it feels in this
Okay.
room when I have to turn off the air conditioner in order to record. with
Oh
you
shit!
guys.
So you want to wrap up?
No,
Okay.
Yeah, so he's, yeah.
If we go any longer, you're going to put out a 2-hour episode for these people.
That's true. We
That's
should wrap
true.
it up. Did you guys have any others before we wrap?
I don't have any more. No.
Nope.
All right. Well, thank you, Ty, for coming on and bringing this topic. We're trying to do a lot more of these types of things, like kind of breaking things down or diving deep into something. So this is perfect for that. And so we'll do more of these this summer. So if you come up with another idea, let us know. We'll have you back on because it was a lot of
Yeah,
fun going through those.
We don't always have fun with Star Wars, so this was a nice reprieve.
Normally it's very
Yeah.
serious.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on. It's nice to scratch the podcasting itch. It's been a while. And of course, it's nice to chat with you guys. I'm always doing it sort of. I'm listening and then maybe responding a little bit. So I feel like I'm talking to you, but it's never really the same as when we get together.
How much do you yell at your radio or your phone or whatever, like when you're listening?
Not that much. I mean, I honestly, Jay, you saying shit like supposedly is way more irritating to me than anything you get wrong about Star Wars. So
Do I say? I don't say supposedly.
you said supposedly
You do.
while we
It's
were
okay.
sitting here recording already once.
supposedly.
Yeah.
Did I?
Yeah, just
You
once.
did.
Wow.
It's all right.
It's fine.
This is part of your charm, Jay.
It is.
is
I'm
you
locking
get
it in
everything
now.
just a little bit wrong.
Supposedly.
No, I actually I find that I've come around on finding it charming now, all the way around.
Good. Yeah. Because every other word I say, I'm fucking misspelling something or mispronouncing something.
You also do it on purpose at times.
Yes.
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 Oh,
Yes.
fuck yeah. I've amped that
So-
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot less sex jokes now that Cole's not on the show anymore.
Really?
Yeah, a lot less. No, you don't talk about penetrating each other nearly as often.
I guess he's the straw that stirs the drink on that
We'll
one.
have to get him back. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we still try to make a lot of sexual references, but
Oh, there's plenty.
We need to up our game.
Just
Yeah.
less about it's. There's plenty of sexual references. Just less about you specifically having sex with each other.
Oh, okay. Well, Jay, we need to work on that.
All right.
I don't think so. I'm not missing it.
Back by popular demand.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on. We'll have you back soon. And
Supposedly, Ty wanted
supposedly.
more anal.
that's a good episode title.
Great.
All right, let's wrap it up.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Ty.
Yeah. Thank you, Ty.
I like doing these little one-off things where we can just bite onto like something, some bigger topic.
I love doing this episode. This whole conversation was up my alley. Although I felt like I was fumbling a little bit because I was excited, and 2, I put so much work into it, and then we're just like it was more of like a let's bounce shit off and shoot the shit. So I felt like I didn't need to share my 10-episode bio that I had with everything.
That was amazing. It's funny because I think we were all in a different spot. Like it was Ty's idea. So his idea, I think he had it a little more fleshed out than my ideas were. Like, I think I just kind of wrote down a couple things and was just like, let's just like, what do you guys think? So give me some other ideas.
I think it was perfect.
But yours was so deep that, especially that first one, it kept going, like all the character names. And
I don't think I did a good job though, because let me tell you this. It has bothered me since we recorded that so much so that I'm writing the fucking thing. I'm writing a treatment. I have episodes. I'm like, this isn't working right. I was so like, if I hear from somebody they like it, maybe I'll be okay. But like, I've spent like the last 2 days like, this didn't work out right. This needs to be, I can't be screws and nails or walls or what was this guy say?
Yeah, bricks and screws.
Yeah.
What was the guy's name? Siler Core or something?
Yeah.
It just perfect name. I don't know. It's just funny because you kept going, and then when you said that's just the end of episode 1, I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, I have the whole like backstory planned and the flashbacks and what fills out, and it's a lot.
You're a much more creative man than me, sir. I applaud your efforts.
Maybe one day the creativity will. I'm good at like coming up with the idea. Well, I think that I am, right? Coming up with ideas, but it's the execution to the finality that I don't. So I need to do that yet. But
you're an ideas man.
Yes.
Yeah. You throw shit out there against the wall, then people have to figure out the details of it.
They write it and they come back to me and be like, "Oh, it was a good idea." I said, "Thank you."
Well, it was fun, a lot of fun. We'll do something like that in the future again.
Yes, I do want to do that.
I think
again.
we'll have a kind of a fun little other kind of one-off episode next week as well. So look forward to that with another guest. But that's it.
That's it for the show. So thank you for listening. Until next time,
laugh it up, buzzballs.
We have spoken.